One luxury sedan on this list lost 83% of its value in 5 years, turning a $140,000 car into a $23,000 one, while owners reported the interior literally melting in summer heat. That's not a typo, and it's not even the most extreme story on this list. 12 luxury vehicles, every one of them built with genuinely impressive technology that turns into genuinely expensive headaches the moment the warranty runs out. We're starting mild and climbing straight to the brand that's become a punchline among independent mechanics. Let's count up. Number 12, BMW X1 2023 to present. The BMW X1 lands on multiple most disappointing lists. Not because anything dramatically fails, but because the experience feels cheaper than the badge promises. Hard plastic trim, a heavy reliance on screens instead of physical controls, and aggressive pricing that simply doesn't add up against rivals. Mechanic Alan Gelfand of German Car Depot put it bluntly. These cars impress when new and under warranty, but suspension systems fail often, and cooling and electronic modules need costly maintenance once warranty disappears. One owner's experience, posted publicly on Edmunds after selling their X1 in April 2025, captures the frustration directly. Sold the BMW X1 due to terrible reliability, dealerships not fixing the car correctly, and BMW corporate being no help. In the first year, the car was back at the dealership 5 times for a total of 48 days. That same owner described chronic electronic malfunctions that were never fixed, despite providing over 100 photos and videos documenting the problem. BMW currently ranks 5th among Consumer Reports' most reliable brands overall, a respectable position that still leaves room for individual models like the X1 to underperform the average. The deeper problem is what happens after year 3. BMW ownership costs climb from roughly $1,700 to $2,100 annually during the warranty period to $2,500 to $4,500 once you're out of it, with the danger zone, years 6 through 8, bringing aging components and increasingly common electronics glitches. A timing chain replacement alone can run $2,500 to $5,000, and that's before any secondary damage from the failure itself. But a small SUV feeling cheap is a mild problem. The next car on this list has electrical components that fail faster than its competitors, and parts that are genuinely hard to find. Number 11, Jaguar XJ 2010 to 2019. Jaguar builds genuinely elegant, beautiful cars. Mechanic Alan Gelfand doesn't mince words about what happens underneath that elegance. The XJ's electrical components tend to fail, and its suspension parts deteriorate faster than average. The suspension and cooling systems break down more than they should, before factoring in the difficulty sourcing parts and high labor costs of fixing a low-volume British sedan. Jaguar's reliability problem runs deep enough that Consumer Reports couldn't include the brand in its 2026 manufacturer rankings, lacking sufficient data to score it fairly alongside competitors, placing Jaguar in the same excluded category as Maserati and Land Rover, 2 brands infamous for unreliability. Owner forums echo the warning directly, with one longtime XJ enthusiast writing online that he loved the car's presence on the road, but warned newcomers to budget at least double what you'd spend on a comparable Lexus, because something electrical will always be quietly failing in the background. That kind of grassroots warning has done more to depress resale demand than any single documented mechanical failure ever could. That part's scarcity compounds every other problem on this list. A failed suspension component on a mainstream luxury sedan might mean a week's wait. On a Jaguar XJ, it can mean weeks of searching for the right part, often shipped from overseas, while the car sits in a shop accumulating storage fees. Independent specialists capable of working on these cars are also genuinely rare outside major metro areas, pushing many owners straight to dealership pricing. But hard to find parts are one kind of headache. The next car on this list has documented reliability problems severe enough to land it on a national list of the worst cars sold in America right now. Number 10, Audi Q7 2020 to present. The Audi Q7 earns a genuinely embarrassing distinction for 2026, a confirmed spot on US News and World Report's list of the 10 least reliable cars currently sold in America, luxury or otherwise. That's not a Jaguar tier niche complaint. That's a mainstream 3-row German SUV that millions of families cross-shop against the Acura MDX and Lexus RX, landing in the exact same reliability conversation as genuinely troubled mainstream vehicles. Consumer Reports' 2026 brand rankings place Audi noticeably behind class leaders Lexus, Subaru, and Toyota, and one Reddit thread discussing Q7 ownership specifically warned prospective buyers. Don't buy a Q7 unless you have a separate emergency fund just for it. Mine ate 3 sensors and a control module in 18 months, all unrelated to each other. That kind of scattered, unrelated failure pattern is precisely what shows up in the brand's broader complaint data, where electrical gremlins rarely cluster around one single root cause that a repair could permanently fix once and for all. The mechanical specifics track with what plagues most modern Audis: documented carbon buildup on direct injection engines that gradually robs performance and requires expensive cleaning services, electrical complexity that produces intermittent sensor and MMI infotainment failures, and a Quattro all-wheel drive system that delivers genuine winter confidence but turns into a genuinely complex, expensive fix the moment something inside it actually breaks. Annual maintenance costs already run $1,700 to $2,100 during the warranty window alone, before anything goes seriously, genuinely wrong. But landing on a worst cars list is bad. The next vehicle on this list has a single signature feature that's become its biggest long-term liability. Number 9, Mercedes-Benz GLE 2020 to present. Mercedes' optional Airmatic air suspension, fitted across the GLE and other Mercedes SUVs and sedans, delivers a genuinely smooth, adaptive ride right up until the rubber air springs naturally dry out and crack with age. Once that happens, complete system repairs, especially when several components fail simultaneously, which they tend to do once the system starts genuinely aging, can easily exceed $2,000 before specialized diagnostic labor gets added on top. A GLE owner posting in a forum described the moment the suspension finally failed on a road trip. The car sank on one corner overnight in a hotel parking lot. Woke up to find it sitting lopsided like it had a flat tire, except all 4 tires were fine. Repairs ran past the estimates most owners expect, and the thread attracted dozens of similar replies describing nearly identical overnight sinking incidents. Consumer Reports' own brand data places Mercedes solidly in the middle of the pack, behind the Lexus, Subaru, Toyota leadership tier, but ahead of several other European brands struggling with their own documented issues. Mercedes' own annual maintenance costs already run higher than BMW's on average, $1,900 to $2,400 during warranty, climbing to $3,000 to $5,000 plus once out of it, making this documented year 6 to 8 danger zone the most expensive of any mainstream German luxury brand. The 9-speed automatic paired with many of these models has developed a reputation for jerky shifts requiring software updates or full valve body replacements, while command infotainment and electronic modules fail often enough to be a recurring complaint across owner forums. But air suspension failure is at least a known problem. The next vehicle on this list has a signature feature so unique that almost nobody else knows how to fix it. Number 8, Tesla Model X 2016 to present. The Tesla Model X's signature party trick, those dramatic falcon wing doors, has become its single biggest long-term headache. Misaligned sensors trigger false obstacle detection, hinges and seals wear from years of collecting rain, dirt, and road salt in exactly the gaps where they fold. And by 2026, a meaningful share of first and second owner Model X SUVs have already needed at least one door repair. Consumer Reports documented this firsthand with early owner Michael Karp, whose Model X suffered a falcon wing door that failed to close properly and a driver's door that wouldn't open except from the inside. Despite the frustration, Karp told Consumer Reports he didn't regret the purchase. "This thing is beautiful. The car's power is incredible. It handles fantastic. I'm rather impressed with the car overall." That mix of genuine owner affection alongside documented hardware failures has defined the Model X's reputation for nearly a decade. Consumer Reports' most recent brand survey rates the Model X specifically as merely average for reliability, a meaningful improvement from earlier years, but still trailing far behind Tesla's own Model 3 and Model Y, which both rank among the most reliable vehicles in their categories. The depreciation data tells the rest of the story. The Model X loses roughly 63.4% of its value within 5 years, translating to approximately $53,846, simply evaporating from the original sticker price. Beyond the doors, owners also report suspension components and control arm bushings wearing prematurely, particularly on the larger 20 to 22-inch wheel setups, while the media control unit on early cars suffers documented lag and screen yellowing. Once the 8-year battery warranty expires, a full pack replacement runs a genuinely staggering $12,000 to $18,000. But complex Falcon doors are a uniquely Tesla problem. The next vehicle on this list has been quietly discontinued entirely, and depreciation hasn't been kind on the way out. Number 7, Lincoln Continental 2017 to 2020. The Lincoln Continental, reintroduced in 2017 specifically to compete with the German luxury sedan establishment, never genuinely found the buyers it needed and was discontinued entirely after the 2020 model year, a genuinely rare full sedan cancellation in an era when most brands keep a token model alive. Resale markets have consistently favored foreign luxury badges over American ones for years, and Lincoln's broader brand fatigue dragged the Continental down with it well before production actually finally stopped. One owner who originally bought a 2019 Continental new, reflecting years later on a car forum, summarized the experience bluntly. "Beautiful car, drove like a dream, and by the time I wanted to sell it, nobody wanted it. Dealers offered me half what a comparable Lexus ES would have kept." That exact sentiment shows up repeatedly across resale forums, where Continental owners consistently describe trade-in offers far below what the car's actual condition and equipment level would genuinely suggest. Consumer Reports never tracked the Continental long enough to generate a full reliability history before discontinuation, leaving used buyers with considerably less long-term data than they'd have on a comparably priced Audi or Mercedes sedan. That depreciation hits particularly hard because the Continental never built the kind of cult following that sometimes protects a discontinued nameplate's resale value. Even well-equipped, low-mileage examples routinely sell for a fraction of comparable used Audi A6 or Mercedes E-Class pricing, despite genuinely competitive feature lists offered at launch. Once a model stops being sold new, independent parts and service support gradually thins out too, a slow-motion problem Continental owners are genuinely only now starting to feel in full. But a discontinued sedan losing value quietly is one kind of problem. The next car on this list is currently sold new, and still manages to lose value just as fast while costing thousands more to maintain. Number 6, Audi A8 2018 to present. The Audi A8 sits in the same flagship category as the Mercedes S-Class and BMW 7 Series, and it brings every bit of that category's complexity along with it. The adaptive air suspension uses specialized struts, a compression system, and numerous electronic controls, meaning it takes only one failed component for the entire system to need attention, and simply swapping one inexpensive part is rarely how the repair actually goes anymore. A 2017 A8 owner, posting in an Audi enthusiast forum, described the cascading nature of the problem directly. "Fixed the air suspension compressor, thought I was done. Then the height sensor went 2 months later, then the control module after that. 3 separate trips, 3 separate bills, all the same underlying system." Consumer Reports data on the broader Audi lineup backs up that pattern, showing electrical and suspension-related complaints clustering together rather than appearing as isolated incidents, which mechanics interpret as a sign one early failure often cascades into several connected ones if left unaddressed. Quattro all-wheel drive, an Audi hallmark and standard equipment here, distributes torque dynamically between axles for genuine all-weather confidence. But when that system malfunctions, the fix is reliably complex and expensive rather than a quick fix. Documented issues include a 2013 to 2017 stalling recall, multitronic transmission oil leaks on certain years, and timing chain tensioner failures on pre-2007 V8 models that produce a telltale cold start rattle before catastrophic engine damage follows if ignored. Service bills run into the thousands, not the hundreds. Audi recommends minor servicing every 10,000 miles or 12 months, a tighter interval than most rivals, meaning the routine cost of keeping an A8 current adds up faster than buyers typically anticipate. But a flagship Audi's complexity is expected. The next car on this list belongs to the exact same category and has lost 2/3 of its value to prove it. Number 5, BMW 7 Series 2023 to present. The BMW 7 Series loses a brutal 67.1% of its value within 5 years, the steepest depreciation of any new car on sale according to iSeeCar's analysis, translating to roughly $65,249 disappearing from the original purchase price. Technology explains much of that collapse. performance. BMW's curved display and iDrive 8.5 system feel cutting edge for about 3 years before newer software makes it look genuinely dated, and luxury buyers chasing the latest tech rarely want last generation's screen. One owner's published review of a 2024 BMW 740 captured exactly how that complexity translates into daily frustration. This car has had repeated mechanical and electrical failures, including defective ball joints, axle problems, AC malfunctions, coolant issues, transmission lag and slipping, and constant tire damage. I have replaced 6 tires in less than 2 years at over $585 each. The same owner described the leather seats cracking despite an MSRP near $96,000, adding that after owning 7 Mercedes vehicles, they'd never experienced anything comparable. BMW sits 5th among Consumer Reports' most reliable mainstream brands, a ranking that makes horror stories like this one feel like genuine outliers, though common enough to give serious pause to any flagship buyer. The air suspension underneath compounds the problem mechanically. RepairPal estimates OEM air spring components alone cost around $2,100 before the extensive labor required to access and replace them, and some owners have resorted to aftermarket coilover kits specifically to escape the air suspension's ongoing repair cycle. Add documented complaints about brake system failures, steering component issues, and persistent electrical gremlins on earlier model years, and the entire picture becomes clear. This is a car engineered to feel incredible for exactly as long as someone else is paying for the warranty. But a 67% depreciation hit is severe. The next vehicle on this list has earned an outright failing grade for total cost of ownership. Number 4. Range Rover 2022 to present. CarEdge assigned the Range Rover its worst ownership grade, meistens an outright F, citing a documented $141,424 total cost of ownership across the first 5 years, a figure that includes depreciation, maintenance, repairs, and fuel combined into one sobering number. Mechanic Alan Gelfand summarized the underlying pattern directly and bluntly. Range Rovers experience 3 main types of failures: air suspension breakdowns, electrical malfunctions, and cooling system breakdowns. A Range Rover owner on Reddit described their ownership experience as a love-hate relationship, where the love part lasts about until the warranty expires. That same thread accumulated dozens of similar replies, with several owners warning newcomers to budget for an extended warranty before factory coverage runs out, since the air suspension and electrical systems both tend to develop problems right around that window. Land Rover, like Jaguar and Maserati, didn't generate enough recent data for Consumer Reports to include it in the 2026 brand rankings at all, leaving the brand conspicuously absent from a list including nearly every other major manufacturer sold in America. The irony is genuinely hard to miss. A brand built on a reputation for going anywhere reliably struggles to start reliably some mornings once the electronics age past warranty. NHTSA recall records document rear-view camera failures and door latch malfunctions across recent generations, while the air suspension remains the single most expensive component to eventually replace once it inevitably fails. But losing $141,000 to ownership costs is genuinely brutal. The next 3 cars all share one badge, and together they represent the single clearest case for disposable luxury on this entire list. Number 3. Maserati Ghibli 2014 to 2018. The Maserati Ghibli, particularly examples from 2014 through 2018, has developed a well-documented pattern of clutch failures appearing as early as 13,000 to 30,000 miles. An almost unthinkable failure window for a car wearing a luxury badge this genuinely expensive. The standard fix requires replacing the clutch entirely, a genuinely costly repair on a platform where even the most routine parts carry an exotic car price tag. One Ghibli owner on a dedicated forum thread titled "Worst Mistake Ever" admitted quite candidly, "Nothing is inexpensive on this car, and it will never be as reliable as a Toyota." Another owner replying to the same thread described daily driving their Ghibli for over 70,000 kilometers with only routine maintenance, suggesting outcomes vary dramatically depending on climate, driving habits, and sheer dumb luck rather than any predictable pattern. Maserati's continued absence from Consumer Reports' 2026 brand rankings, alongside Jaguar and Land Rover, reflects exactly this unpredictability. Too few owners genuinely report inconsistently enough for the data to even form a reliable trend line. Owners report cabin rattles, peeling trim, and broken electronics frequently enough that Maserati specialists treat them as expected rather than exceptional, alongside documented dashboard warning alerts, infotainment glitches, and unexpected battery drain issues across the same model years. NHTSA Recall records add a genuinely alarming layer on top: incomplete subframe welds that could genuinely break under stress, and fuel delivery pipes capable of leaking directly inside the engine compartment. One Maserati mechanic, when asked directly about worst-case scenarios, said the failures generally fall into replacing electronics rather than major engine or transmission damage, which sounds genuinely reassuring right up until you learn what Maserati actually charges to replace electronics. But the Ghibli's problems are at least mostly fixable. The next Maserati combines all of the same issues with one of the steepest depreciation curves of any SUV currently sold. Number 2, Maserati Levante 2017 to present. The Maserati Levante depreciates 63.7% within 5 years, translating to roughly $64,991, vanishing from the original purchase price. And that collapse comes bundled with documented suspension issues, electrical failures, brake problems, and power steering failures, all hitting the same vehicles simultaneously. Fuel system leaks round out what one analysis bluntly called a genuine misery package, and even the range-topping Trofeo trim's V8 roar does little to drown out the sound of the repair estimates that inevitably follow. A Levante owner sharing their experience on an automotive subreddit wrote, "Bought it used at a steep discount thinking I'd outsmarted the depreciation curve. Spent the savings and more on a power steering pump and a suspension sensor within the first year." Replies to that post included several similar stories, with one commenter joking that Levante forums function less like enthusiast communities and more like support groups. Consumer Reports' continued inability to gather enough Maserati ownership data for a full brand score means buyers researching the Levante specifically are left relying almost entirely on forum anecdotes and independent mechanic reports, rather than any large-scale statistical reliability survey. The deeper issue is structural. Maserati builds genuinely beautiful, genuinely fast vehicles using a parts and engineering philosophy that was never designed around long-term daily driver durability. That trade-off might be acceptable on a weekend-only sports car. On a 3-row family SUV competing directly against the Porsche Cayenne and Range Rover Sport for daily driver buyers, it becomes a genuinely serious problem the moment the warranty clock starts running out. But losing 2/3 of an SUV's value is severe. The final car on this list takes every single problem on this entire countdown and somehow makes it worse. Number 1, Maserati Quattroporte, 2004 to present. The Maserati Quattroporte posts an almost unbelievable 83% value drop, transforming a car that stickered above $140,000 into roughly $23,000 of remaining value. A collapse steep enough that Reliability Index, a UK tracking organization, has placed Maserati at the literal bottom of a 40 manufacturer reliability ranking. Maserati owners spend at least $1,000 annually on repairs on average, comfortably above the industry norm. The average across the entire lineup, not the worst case outlier. A Quattroporte owner's review, preserved on a long-running forum, summed up the experience with a line quoted repeatedly across other Maserati discussions since, "I didn't buy a car, I adopted a very expensive, very beautiful problem that occasionally drives me to work." Multiple replies in that same thread described nearly identical interior issues on 2006-era cars, with several owners independently reporting the dashboard and door panels softening and becoming tacky during hot summers. Exactly matching documented complaints from that model year. Consumer Reports' continued exclusion of Maserati from its annual brand rankings, now stretching across multiple years, speaks to a reliability problem too inconsistent for even a dedicated owner survey to properly quantify. The 2006 Quattroporte earned a reputation as one of the least reliable luxury sedans ever sold in America, with owners reporting interior materials that genuinely melt and warp in high heat, leaving behind a sticky residue and an unpleasant smell that that no detailing session fully removes. Classic Maserati styling and that legendary exhaust note can't mask electrical gremlins, suspension failures, and transmission issues compounding year after year, turning what was once a six-figure status symbol into a car most owners are simply trying to sell before the next repair bill arrives. 12 luxury vehicles, climbing from a small SUV that just feels cheap all the way to a flagship sedan that lost 83% of its value while the interior literally melted. Impressive technology, badge prestige, and genuinely incredible first impressions. None of it protects you once the warranty clock runs out. Which one shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments and subscribe, because the next list might save you from a very expensive mistake.